Bricamo.
Ah.
And
Okay.
it sounds better on a conga, but I decided to open up with this section because it's a kind of a funny little piece. I've been reading something, you know, politically serious and blah, 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 blah. And this one came about December 31st, 1998. It was about the beginning of the turning over the year to 1999. And the column that I've been writing, Media Watch for African Times newspaper from 1996 to 1999, was going along pretty well, except for one thing. Charles Anyiam, the publisher, said, you know, why don't you do something a little lighter? You know, every column we have, you know, like an 8-pound, 100 gorilla is landing on your back or something.
Elephant in the room.
So now I want you to go back a bit because this is something that happened that was not necessarily funny, but it's a lighter piece. You'll see what I mean in just a minute.
Okay.
I call it, at about this time I had started writing under the name Odei Ofainé.
Yes.
In Ga, Ofainé means I beg you.
Right.
So it's kind of a joke. The title of the piece is, Oh, Mother Chukwu. Oh, Mother Chukwu. My Igbo might be a little shaky, but the spelling of her last name is Chukwu, Chukwu.
Okay.
We have a friend who reminds us of one of Langston Hughes' characters. Ironically, his name is Moses. And here's what he had to say about Mrs. Anyiam Chukwu's octuplet blessing. Mrs. Chukwu had octuplets. Octuplets. I can barely say the word. Uh-oh. The Nigerians just blew their immigration quota out of the water. Why do you say that, Mose? Simple arithmetic. You think Senator Throckmorton P. Hardballs and Senator Jess Lyncham want to see Africans in this country who can boost the black population by 8% every 9 months? Moses, that's very unlikely. Mrs. Chukwu received fertility drugs in order to have multiple births. And it would be totally unrealistic to think that the black population would or could be boosted by 8% every 9 months. Ha! That's what you say. You have to read between the lines in this situation. If Mrs. Chukwu used fertility drugs to have these 8, don't you think it would give other women ideas? Black women? Now then, combine that with Viagra. You mean Viagra. That's not a fertility drug. You don't have to tell me what it is. I know what it does. Moses doesn't have a great deal of room for outside logic. You have to go with his flow. I can just see the senators Hardball and Lyncham hard at work right now, drafting Prop 69. A law that would limit the immigration of Nigerian women of childbearing age to 25 a year. I don't see the possibility, the vaguest possibility of that happening. Well, you were the one who thought that Abacha would be in power till 2005 and that Clinton wouldn't be impeached. So, there. All I can say to you is this. If you hear of another African woman giving multiple births, watch and see if we don't have some sort of law passed against that. Moses, you've been wrong before. I know. That's what reminds me that I'm merely a mortal being, just like you guys. If you had a chance to say anything to Mrs. Chukwu and to her husband, Ike Louis Udube, what would you say? To Mrs. Chukwu, I would say, I'd save the breastfeeding for the Ibeji who are bound to follow these octuplets, Ibeji's twins. And to Mrs. Udobi, I'd say, Happy New Year, 8 times. Now then, just think about it. Nigeria's a big country. If you had 80 Nigerian women of childbearing age come here taking fertility drugs and their husbands were taking Viagra, whatever, think about it.
That certainly is a lighter piece.
Quite a bit lighter than the usual thing.
But trust me, you wouldn't be getting too many black women or African women or any women of the diaspora taking fertility drugs that would be making them have 8 babies at a time.
But this lady had 8 babies.
Yes, I think she was maybe going for twins. I'm sure she was not thinking 8. And get it done. Get it done.
I think you got a point there.
All right.
Well, we kept it a little lighter too in the next column, so I'll bring this one along too.
Okay.
This was same time, end of the year, December 15, December 31, 1998. The title of this particular piece is Let My People Go. I was very fond of using little biblical phrases and stuff like that because a lot of that stuff seems to fit this kind of thing. My grandson Brian, his eyes slitted, his right hand stroking his beardless 13-year-old chin, was the first one to alert me to the discrepancies. Check it out, grandfather, they're doing it again. It took a couple of more seconds of staring at the movie commercial trailer for me to see what he was talking about. The multi-million-dollar piece of animated cartoon film was a holiday lure about the Jews seeking release from their Egyptian bondage, amongst all other things. The other things, quickly detected by the 13-year-old eyes of a bright Afrocentric, had to do with the cultural, ethnic, and racial discrepancies that the Eurocentric movie makers refuse to stop including in their works. Quick, tell me what you see. Well, first of all, it's like everybody's a white guy with a serious tan, even the pharaoh. It had to do with the noses. They were as aquiline as the artist had been instructed to draw them, even unto the Sphinx figure. Never saw such a collection of nose jobs in my life. This is Egypt? Create a collection of biblical characters with purely European features, shade them with various hues of cocoa, and pretend that Egypt is somewhere in the vicinity of Naples or maybe London. Naples may have been cool, but not London. There's been a tough road to hoe in the Hollywood movies for years. They love Egypt, always want to stick stuff in Egypt, but they have the hardest time trying to locate Egypt in Africa. Wasn't Cleopatra, Liz Taylor's turkey, made in Cinecittà Studios in Rome? I like Liz, don't get me wrong, but as Cleopatra, she was a bit pale. One would think with the amount of money dished out to location finders that they would be aware by now that Egypt has always been a part of the African continent, no matter who held the ruling hand. Oh well, let's kick the usual suspect to the curb for a while. The Department of Peace and Cool. Been on my mind all year. Let me tell you about it. The Department of Peace and Cool. It would be impossible to think of a better time than now to establish a Department of Peace and Cool. A casual study of all the hot spots on the planet, plus all of the potential hot spots, should be adequate motivation to create this vitally needed bureaucracy. Well, why not? We have a Department of War, of Commerce, Agriculture, Transportation, Welfare. Why not a Department of Peace and Cool? Quickly, before any misunderstandings occur that might lead to nasty language, physical violence, or even a drive-by shootout, clearly understand that our D of P&C would not be in competition with the UN. The UN, as we all know, operating under the capable leadership of Secretary General Kofi Annan, is doing the best that it can do internationally. This is that time. Kofi was on the scene. Our D of P and C would be a national number. The idea, incidentally, is not stark raving new. The social activist Dick Gregory, they should make condoms in different size, he said, made the proposition to the U.S. government in the late 60s. There's a strong suspicion in our minds that his proposition was classified as a dirty, nasty, pink or red plot and promptly filed under subversive suggestions made by dirty, nasty, pink or red Negroes, or something close to that. The Department of Peace and Cool, what's that about? Well, it would have a gaggle of peace and cool people, not police officers roaming our street, not cops, actively promoting the idea that it is cool to be peaceful. As most of us already know, a tremendous amount of violence is encouraged by the media every day. Road rage may be one of the immediate spin-off from Lethal Weapon 5, or is it 6? And Rocky 6, or 7, or 8, and Terminator 3, or all of the above. The idea of P and C would conduct peace and cool courses in all public private schools, beginning at the kindergarten level. Awards would be given on a weekly basis to those individuals who have done the most to promote peace and cool. Prestigious awards with large sums of self-esteem attached and cash dividends. Finally, after the kinks had been kicked to the curb, the U.S. Department of Peace and Cool would work to establish peace and cool departments in every sovereign nation in the world, minus IMF and World Bank stipulations and strings attached. The eventual rewards from these departments would be more precious than gold. They would be peace and cool. Bless your new year.
Peace.
You got a good reception from some violent people who said, well, hang you for even suggesting that we have something like that. What's going to happen to us if everything is cool? And I mean, peaceful and cool. We won't have any work to do.
I do understand.
We can't go around shooting people. Mm-hmm. You know, there would be some semblance of civilization. John Henry Clark made the observation that you can't mistake industrialization for civilization. In order to have a civilization, you have to have people who are civil. And one of the ways they could be civil is to establish a peace and cool commission. Look, I got to get out of here.
I got to get out of here too, and that is Peace and Cool. Your
Peace and Cool.
website is www.odiehawkins.com. Your book can be purchased at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iUniverse, Author House, Archway, Book Baby, and person can go to their local bookstore and say, I want a book by Odie Hawkins. And that, I guess, is
next
about
time,
it.
tomorrow.
Next time.
Next
All right.
time is tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
I look forward to being in Zola's place all the time.
Peace and cool.
Peace and cool.